Good evening, Facebook family. This is Bishop V. Ricardo Thomas, and you have joined us for Friday Night Live. Tag your friends, tag your family, even tag your foes. You don't know. Your enemies might be blessed by what they might hear on tonight. Gerard Carlo, bless you. I was just telling people to tag their family, their friends, and for those that are joining, let us know that you're watching. Let us know that you're watching, and share as well. You turn that volume down on that one there.
It was this one.
Okay, that one. Yeah. We got different monitors going on today, but we are going to be talking again about boundaries. Boundaries are so important to people, to our lives, to our mental health, to our emotional health, to our spiritual lives and health as well. Last week we ended up, hey Monica, God bless you. She's my great assistant on Friday night. She helps me and Pastor Lots in everything that we're doing. Cause they say that teamwork makes the dream work, and we need a team because we can't do everything by ourselves. We need other people to buy into what we're doing and to support what we're doing. And hey, Carol, God bless you. Remember to like, tag, and share. Tag your family, tag your friends, and share it on your page. Share it on your page because you don't know when you might have a Facebook friend that may want to go on your page at any given time, and they may be blessed by the things that you're being blessed with as well. And Charlene Abner, God bless you, daughter, for joining us. I see you faithful people that are here, and I see Carol is tagging Deborah Starks as well. These Elder Mo, bless you, my brother. That's my brother, and my older brother. He was my protector when I was younger, and I just love him to life. We check on each other just about every day to see how we're doing, what's going on in our lives, and that's what is so important. Is not that we know scriptures, but we apply scriptures and biblical principles to our lives and how we conduct and carry our lives. And so we're going to recap the definition of boundaries, because I want people to have an understanding of what boundaries are, because some people may be seeing this segment for the very first time, and they may have missed what we talked about as far as what boundaries are and the importance of them. Hey, Lanisha, God bless you. So boundaries are limits or borders in regards to our physical life, our mental lives, our spiritual lives, our attitudes, our behavior. And it's just like we have when you own property and you have a surveyor comes out and tell you what your property lines are. This is your property. This is your boundary. And if anybody comes past that line, they're trespassing. If you go outside of that, or if you go in somebody else's area, you're trespassing on their behalf, on their property. So it's important that even though we have boundaries, we are able to allow people to come into our space. And it's so important that we watch out and who we allow to come into our space, that we don't allow people to just trespass against us. And so that is so important. And if someone crosses your property line, they're in violation. And so that's why it's so important that we declare our boundaries and that we communicate our boundaries. And it's so important. Last week we went into health. We talked about the scripture in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 last week. Hey, Mother Bailey, God bless you. Hey, Vicky, God bless you as well. Last week we segued into health, and we talked about what? Know ye not that your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and you are not your own, for you are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. So we have to understand that our bodies, our lives are a temple. Saint Cena May, God bless you. And that's why we have to declare it, as Sister Monica just said. We have to not just declare it. We have to communicate it to other people. This is what I believe in. This is what I stand for. This is where I set my boundaries are, and I don't want you to disrespect them. And so we ended up talking about health, taking care of the health of our bodies, watching what we eat, watching what we do, how it will affect us in different ways. And so today we are going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about relationships. And even in relationships, you have to enforce or declare your boundaries. You have to watch who you allow into your life, who you allow into your space, because there are people that will try at various times to how can I say it, to cross your boundaries, cross your space. And sometimes you could tell people with a loving attitude and loving words like, hey baby, like, no, you can't come here, you can't do that, or no, I'm not up to that. And you could talk to them that way. And then sometimes you have to be more forceful. And it's all right to be forceful when you're declaring your boundaries and what your boundaries are. That's all right as well. So sometimes you have to, I don't know if you've seen different situations where people had certain fences around their yard, and because people were climbing over the fences, they had to fortify their fence, and they had to make their fence a little bit higher, to make sure people didn't just easily jump over their boundaries. And sometimes that's what we have to do in our individual lives. We have to fortify our fences. We have to fortify our boundaries so people don't just easily jump over them, and we find out people are in our space and wondering how they got in there. It's not that we invited them in there. It's just that our boundaries weren't firm. Our boundaries weren't set. Our boundaries weren't established real well, so it was easy for other people to cross our boundaries, whether it's your mental boundaries, whether it's your emotional boundaries, spiritual boundaries. And again, today we're going to talk about relationships. So I want you to get your questions ready, to type in your questions, and Monica Ward will be looking and see what your questions are, and will be informing me, and we will discuss it. I like it when our discussions on Friday Night Live are participatory, and we go back and forth and create a dialogue where I can answer some of the questions that you may have concerning your boundaries. And again, we're talking about relationships. And so in relationships, it's up to us. If we have set boundaries, we have to be careful who we hook up with. and who we allow into our space. And sometimes we don't know who is negative that are coming into our space if we have not declared or identified what our space is, or what we're going to put up with, or what our non-negotiables are. I heard a lady say the other day, she said it was two things that she would not tolerate in a relationship. She wouldn't have a man that cheated on her, and she wouldn't have a man that laid his hands on her. And she had declared and set up her boundaries as far as what the non-negotiables were in her life. And that's what you have to do in your life. You have to declare what you will not tolerate, what you will not put up with. And there are certain things in relationships that are negotiable. They're negotiable in relationships. I know there are times, and I wish, and I probably will repeat this later on, but you have to learn how to have mutual sacrifices. Now, Monica, at what point do you set boundaries? Does something have to happen first? No. That's a good question. Hey, Gail, Mama Gail, how you doing? Monica, that's a real good question. You set your boundaries at the onset of your realization and understanding that you are important and that you desire and demand to be respected. And you set the boundaries before you get into a relationship, because once you got into a relationship, they may think anything goes, because you may have accepted somebody that has treated someone some kind of way in the past, or been in other kind of relationships, whether they were toxic, whether they took advantage of it. And if you allowed them into your space, they may automatically think that you're going to allow them to do what they did in the other relationship. So the time to set your boundaries is soon as you realize how important you are, that you realize how your value and what you want people to respect about you. And you set those boundaries. And sometimes you may have to just take a pencil and paper and write down, or on your computer, write down what your boundaries are concerning your life and concerning the type of person that you want to be in a relationship with. So to answer that question, Monica, set it at as soon as you realize your importance and your value, write it down. Another person may not even have came into your life yet, and you let them know. Because see, some people, take for women for example, and even for men, but women say we want a guy that look like Denzel or Morris Chestnut or something like that. There, we want them tall, dark, and handsome, and that's the only boundary that they have. They just go by the looks. And so they invite or accept this person into their life, but after accepting this tall, dark, and handsome man into their life, then they find out he's an abuser. They find out he's a taker, that he wants to live off of them. He's like Minnie the Moocher or something like that there. So that's why it's so important to as Elder Mo was saying now, to clarify. And that's what we keep saying. You have to communicate what your boundaries are, and don't just make them so general. You know, I want a short, fine woman, and that's it. And she could be mean as a snake, and you selling for her just being short and fine, and it's not something that's even good for your health, for you spiritually, or for you mentally. Any other questions? Come on, somebody else. Ask your questions. We want to get into what's on your mind and where you are when it comes to the boundaries of your life and in relationships. When I was talking about mutual sacrifices, one of the things that come to my mind and talking about mutual sacrifices, God bless you, Pastor Ron Todd, is the relationship between my mom and my dad. My dad was an outdoorsman. He liked to hunt, he liked to fish and things of that nature. And he taught us boys how to do that and how to survive. And after a while, he talked my mom into going up north with him and with us sometime on our trips. As a matter of fact, a couple of times she went with us on our hunting trips. And we have pictures that after killing a deer in November during hunting season, she's there in her hunting gear, and she's helping them skin the deer. They're taking pictures of things like that. She'd go fishing with them. Now, those were things that she didn't necessarily really like, but she knew that they made him happy. And that's what we talked about as far as mutual sacrifices. And on the other hand, my dad, he wasn't, unless it was really necessary, he didn't like to travel that much. And after a while, the church asked my mom if she could convince him to take a trip because they wanted to bless him for their anniversary or for the church anniversary. And they took a train ride to Toronto. And so he gave in to take a trip with her. And after a while, they began traveling together. And so it's mutual sacrifice where it's a give and take in your boundaries, as long as it doesn't diminish you, as it doesn't disrespect you, and it makes the person that is in your life, because we're talking about relationship, if it makes them happy. You don't want to be so rigid in your boundaries when it doesn't hurt you or doesn't disrespect you to do something that satisfy your mate or something like that. Any other questions? So we talked about mutual sacrifices. There is another thing that will cause you to lose sight of your boundaries, and that's distractions. Distractions will cause you to lose sight of your boundaries, and as a result, you may find yourself either on the outside of your boundaries, or you allow other people to come into your space that may not be good for you. And when I say distractions, everything that looks good is not good. Every person that looks good because they meet this physical image in your life of what you want for a mate or what you want for just a companion, just to be in relationships, because being honest, everybody that's in relationships aren't married. And that's the reality of it. Even in the church, we be in relationships, and sometimes we just go by what a person looks like. And then if we're real churchy, we go by, how they quote scriptures and how they sing and dance in the church, and we're excited about that. So we want to have them in our lives, and it distracts us from what we really want in a mate or in a relationship. So be careful of distractions. Write that down. Distractions will cause you to lose focus of the sight, your boundary lines. And okay, Sister Monica, she said this is a new practice for a lot of us. Yeah, because a lot of times we get older and we find out that we've already set a pattern in our life where we keep attracting the same type of person, and we keep wondering why does this keep happening? It's because we haven't learned from my experiences. So Vicky is
So
saying,
we set boundaries and didn't even know it.
huh?
We set boundaries and didn't even know it. We set the wrong boundaries.
Right, we set the wrong boundaries, and so that's why it's important that you, when you set boundaries, you have to know what is good for you. What's going and what sister so and so or what Betty Boo goes by may not be the boundaries that you need to set for your life. You have to set the boundary that works for you and that's going to work in your relationship or who you're going to be with. Vicky said, what about when you reciprocate in a relationship, but the man does more and he always bring up what he's done? And what else does she say on that, Monica?
Is that toxic?
Is that toxic?
Did you get it? What about when you reciprocate in a relationship, but the man does more and he always brings up what he's done?
Yeah, well, see, first of all, you're looking for a man in your life. A man should be a provider. A man should be a protector. And everybody should give 100% of what they're capable of doing. And sometimes people are under the false pretense that your 100% has to equal my 100%. And see, that's a misconception. And that's why it's important that we have counseling, that we have premarital counseling, or we just have classes so that we understand this. Because if it's a guy that's making, like $50,000, $60,000 a year, and the woman is making $30,000 a year, or it could be vice versa. She may be making $100,000 and he's only making 30. Well, quite naturally, she's going to be contributing more than he's going to contribute. But if you, that's when we talk about mutual sacrifice. And you don't want to throw it up in each other's face, I do more than you do, or I give more than you do. Well, you're capable. Your capacity is larger than mine. So you're able to do more. You're able to contribute more. But what I'm able to contribute, I'm contributing everything that I'm able to do. And so that's a boundary that has to be set, where you talk about mutual sacrifice and everybody giving according to their capacity to give. Yes.
Mother Bailey says you have to establish an understanding with someone.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always have everything your way. Compliment each other, trust each other, and show the person you love them. Continue to do what you did to get them and never leave from that behavior.
Yeah, that's good, Mother. And that's why, going back to your question, Monica, when you said, when do we set boundaries? You said it at the beginning. So when you're getting into a relationship, you spend time, don't try to spend all your time with touchy-feely stuff. You need to spend time talking over some real things that will break up a relationship, or what your expectations are. And that should be it, where you're talking about what you're going to bring to the table, what they're going to bring to the table, and can you deal with that? And if you're okay with that, and you go from there. If somebody said, well, no, you're not making enough of me, then hey, in that then, right there. That's a time to end it. I've been divorced for 4 years now, and I had people that came my way, and we set boundaries. We talked about boundaries and things. There's some things I messed up on. There's some things that other people didn't see eye to eye with, and so, but we just didn't connect for whatever the reason was, And then there was some people, that I made mistakes with, and I wish I hadn't made mistakes with, and So those are things that you learn in relationships.
Those are the boundaries that you address in the beginning.
Huh?
Those are the things that need to be addressed
In the beginning, right? In the beginning, because yeah, and I don't get too personal in my thing, because I don't let everybody into to my circle. But yeah, that's it. You discussing with the person that you're in the relationship. That's like if you're neighbors with somebody, you know your property line, you respect your neighbors, and there's certain things you know. And when you get into letting people into your heart, that's why the Bible says, guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it flows the issues of life. Because when it says guard your heart, it means protect it, set boundaries around your heart, because if you don't, there's going to be some issues that's going to come out because your heart has been hurt, your heart has been broken, your heart has not been pleased, and things of that nature. Sit down, Simba. See, Simba tries to set boundaries in on Friday Night Live, and he tries to break boundaries because sometimes we give him snacks and just to calm him down, because I don't like him jumping up on me. Now, Pastor Lots lets him jump up on her, you know. So I throw him a snack, and since he knows he could get a snack, he tries to get more snacks than I allow him to get. So we established those parameters right now. And so since Pastor Lott's not here and Monica's here, he all up on her leg and stuff, like trying to like, give me some snacks, give me some snacks, give me some snacks. But see, I'm the one holding the snacks. And so relationships, you follow me? That's a sidebar.
That's your boundary.
That's my boundary. That's my boundary, right? So Monica said, we enter into relationship wide open, heart unguarded, and we end up hurting, violating. So true. We're so happy to have found someone. You know, somebody finally loves me. Somebody finally likes me. So we just welcome them in. And like you say, the heart is open, it's unguarded, and before we know it, we violate it. It is so important when you get into a relationship that you have your boundaries already set and you talk about those boundaries. And you have to be aware and you have to stick with those boundaries, because the distractions will cause you to become unfocused and you will let your guard down. And I don't want any of you to let your guard down and find yourself being hurt because you didn't set a boundary in your relationship. Talking about relationships. Okay, Mark has any questions? I'm gonna talk. You know, I do workshops. There is hope for blended families. And even in Christian families, yes,
I just want to say, Mother Bailey just made a good point.
What she said?
But she said Simba knows his boundaries, and that's why he's over there with Sister Monica.
Right,
That's
and
a good point, because people know their boundaries with certain people, and they try it with other people.
Exactly. Yeah, and you right, Mother, because that's right where he at. He's right over there with Monica, jumping up on her knee and everything. Like, give me something. You know, sit down.
It's amazing.
And that's what he's doing. He's sitting down. He's sitting down because there's boundaries that's set. There's boundaries that are set, and it's so important that we don't just settle for anything or anybody to come into our space. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. Now, if you've done everything you can to protect yourself, and somebody just outwardly violates this, that's not on you. That's just because they didn't respect the boundaries that you set for your life, for your expectations, and things of that nature there. And I'm serious about expectations. You have to be cognizant of that fact. If you were to go right around in the next room, right on the cupboard door, go look right quick and see what I got written on that cupboard door. Sister Monica, come back. Just right there, and look on the, go in there. And come back and tell us what it says. You see it?
Value of time, expectations.
Yeah, value of time and expectations.
This week.
Yeah, and expectations. I remind myself of that every day when I walk through there. That the certain expectations that I have to communicate them to people, because I can't expect them.
That's good.
Huh?
That's good.
With the
People
expectations.
are not mind readers.
Right. Yeah, exactly. She says people are not mind readers. And that's right. You have to let them know what you expect out of them, because a lot of times when you haven't expressed your expectations from people, when they don't meet your expectations, now you're mad, but you never communicated. And again, we talk about that week after week when we talk about communicating our expectations. You have to make sure that people know your expectations. Any other questions? You know, when we talk about expectations, and we talk about boundaries, and we talk about relationships, one thing that I want you to be aware of, where there's a problem that comes in, even with ourselves, with our relationship with ourselves, because see, a lot of times we have messed up, jacked up relationships with other people because we don't even have a proper relationship with ourselves. And when we deal with ourselves, there is the ideal self, you know, that perfect self, that self that we might have dreamed about being when we were younger, what we wanted, the type of job we wanted, the house we wanted, the husband, the wife we wanted. And we had all of these dreams of the ideal self. And now we have to come to terms with the real self, who we really are. We don't have that job. We don't have that home. We don't have that particular mate. And so how do we balance the two? How do we come to terms with that? And that's where using biblical principles of grace and truth come into place, because we have to recognize the truth of what it is, and then we have to have the grace enough to accept where we are, even though we may still want to, and we should still try to strive for the ideal self, that you never stop trying to better yourself. But right now you may not be at that spot or that place, so you have to recognize where the ideal self is, that this picture that you want of yourself in your relationship, even with yourself or with your mate. And then you have to recognize the real self of where you are, and how do you raise up that real self to match that. And if it never matches that, how do you come to grips and come to a place of acceptance to say, like, hey, this is just where I am, and I'm going to make the best out of it. And that's what you have to be determined about. You know, yeah, my wife don't look like the movie star I wanted, or my husband don't look like one I wanted, but look here, I'm going to make this thing work. because they're good, and I'm good to them, and I'm gonna make this thing work. Yeah, continue to like, continue to share with other people as well. Let other people know what is going on right now. And so we have these different sides of ourselves. And Forever Blessed says, what do you do when a person has low self-esteem but does things to try to hurt the person they are with? Get out the relationship. If you seek counseling, I had 2 people today that contacted me about counseling, and if I would recommend somebody to them. It's so important to get counseling, because low self-esteem is a dangerous place to be, because you need 1 or 2 things to be done. You need either someone to help build you up. And sometimes even when they're trying to build you up, you don't even accept it, because you got so much low self-esteem that no matter how many things they say to glorify you or to affirm you, that person still may not accept it because they think so low of themselves. And then the other thing about it is, because a person has low self-esteem, they believe that they don't deserve anything better than what they get. And as a result, the saying about hurting people hurt people. And because a person that's suffering from low self-esteem or no self-esteem, they feel so bad about themselves that they take the anger that they feel internally, because they're dissatisfied with their life, and they lash out at their mate or their significant other, their partner, their kids, their whatever, and hurt them. Again, that's where your boundaries have to be set. How much hurt are you going to take? Forever Blessed. How much hurt are you going to accept before you're willing to let that person go? It comes a time, and sometimes it may take people longer than others to come to that conclusion. But you have to come to the place like, I'm not willing to accept having somebody in my life that's going to continuously hurt me. And hurting people hurt people. So if you love them, you try to get them counseling so that they're healed. And if they're not willing to be healed, I'm not going to keep letting you hurt me. Yeah, go ahead.
Mother Bailey said hurting people do hurt other people. And I'm not going to allow anybody to hurt me because someone else hurt them. Exactly. And we have to be cognizant enough to recognize the red flags and the signals that this person got something going on in their life, or has something going on in their past, and sometimes people don't want to talk about it, and they need to talk about it if they're going to be in a relationship with you. You need to find out, were you abused? Were you raped? Were you molested? Was it? And it doesn't necessarily have to be sexually abuse. It could be verbal abuse, or you may feel rejected or abandoned because your parents had a divorce and you felt that one of them left you, so you got abandonment issues. Those things have to be looked at. Yeah, Monica put up the red flags. You can't ignore the red flags. You can't ignore the red flags or think that the red flags are going to turn green all by themselves without somebody, seeking some help or seeking some type of guidance in the relationship. And you have to understand too, what mindset are you Forever Blessed said she had to explain to somebody, only when you had enough
when you will, you like Bethune said, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you have to come to yourself, your self-awareness again. You have to set the boundaries for what you want, what you desire for your life. Monica said, we're not other people's saviors. And that's it. That's why some people don't want to set their boundaries, because they feel, if I really set my boundaries, it'll look like I'm selfish and people think I don't care about them. But you have to care about yourself first.
Yes,
You have to have self-care. And you have to be in relationship, because then you have to deal with the perspective or the psyche of what's operating in your life, whether it's the ideal self or the real self. Because the ideal self will tend to be judgmental. You're not doing what you should be doing, and you'll find yourself beating up on yourself or beating up on somebody else because they're not reaching or meeting your ideal of what they should be. And so the ideal self has a tendency to be judgmental. Yes, go ahead.
So Forever Blessed says sometimes you have to be selfish. My question to that is that selfish?
No, being protective of yourself is not selfish. You want to make sure that you're safe. You want to make sure that you have physical safety, you have mental safety, you have emotional safety, you have spiritual safety, you have financial safety, and to want those things, not self. It's just smart. It just tell yourself, it just makes sense. Because if you're not safe, then you can't provide safety to others. If you're not emotionally secure, you can't help nobody else emotionally. If you're not spiritually mature, you can't help nobody else spiritually. If you're not financially secure, you can't help nobody else financially. Mm-hmm. So you have to take care of this first. And that's how in the beginning in Genesis, God told Adam and Eve, take care of what I give you first. And that was the thing, and they messed that up. And then when God seen Abraham, first in Genesis 6, when God seen Noah, he seen that Noah was a protector of the family, and he gave Noah the task of building the ark to save mankind. And Noah was obedient. And him and his kids and stuff, they started building the ark to save mankind. And Noah was just like me. I take care of 3 P's: people, plants, and pets. And that's what Noah took care of. He took care of people, his family. He took care of pets, all of them animals. And he took care of plants. He had all the different plants and stuff, so that when the time came, he was able to replicate and reproduce and take care of certain things. And that's what we have to do. We have to be adamant on, we have to take care of that which is ours. Protect yourself, Mother Bailey. That's right. Protect yourself. Elder Mo said, low self-esteem will keep a person in bondage because of pride, but you don't see it that way because of see what the rest of it is.
Low self-esteem will keep a person in bondage because of pride, but they don't see it that way because of the state of mind that they're in. The low self-esteem state of mind.
Yeah, and so see that's when a person is operating in an unhealthy mental state of the real self, because the real self is, they have low self-esteem, but as a result of it, they start having shame, having guilt, being in denial, and they try to hide who the real self is. Like you say, they don't want to see who they really are, and they make excuses. And some people, they, instead of realizing or accepting where they are, they want to blame where they are on other people. If it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for him, things of that nature. And that's why when we talk about relationship, I didn't want to limit it to just relationships with the opposite sex, but relationship with yourself. Forever Blessed says, go ahead, read what she said.
It took me a while to set boundaries for myself, and when I did, they didn't understand it. Everybody wanted to say, I mean.
Mm-hmm. And you have to accept the criticism of other people, and just know that, as Mother Bailey was saying, you got to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. And if a person does not understand what you're communicating to them, or not respecting what you're communicating to them, then you just don't need to be with that person. Yeah. They may be selfish because they just want their way, and so that's why I said it comes to some mutual sacrifices where people in a relationship be like, okay, I'm willing to give this, but I want this here in return, and you decide what you're going to give up. You decide what you're going to accept. You don't have to accept being cussed at. You don't have to accept being slapped at. You don't have to accept being diminished or disrespected. See, they're your boundaries. See, that's why it's important. They are your boundaries, and you have to be determined and decide what your boundaries are going to be for your life. Don't compare. Forever Blessed says, just I'm getting a lot of self-care. I love me. You better love you. Yeah, because, hey, look here. Because once you learn how to truly love yourself, then you will know how other people are to love you. But if you don't really know how to love yourself, you may accept a fake love from somebody else. It won't be a genuine love. And that's one thing I learned, like after my divorce, I had to really learn how to love me. I had to learn how to spend time with me. Pastor Lots will tell you, I don't hang out at night. I'm at home with myself. I spend time, me and her talk about church thing, people, things like that there, but I'm not on the prowl. I'm not looking for a lot of things. I'm learning how to love me. And okay, Monica,
One thing about spending time with yourself is we fight with that demon of when you spend time with yourself, you feel like nobody else wants to be with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Battle.
Right, you deal with the isolation and loneliness, and that's when you learn the difference between being alone and loneliness. You could be alone and be in a good space. Loneliness is when you are in a space that you need somebody else to make you complete. And that's where, again, that struggle between the ideal self and the real self, because see, the ideal self wants this perfect mate to be with them, but the real self doesn't have it. So instead of coming to grips with being alone, they experience a lot of loneliness. And so they get distracted and take their eyes off their barrier and go selling for any old cat in the alley just to get rid of that feeling of loneliness. And then they would be wondering, like, how did I get here? How did I end up with him? How did I end up with her? And I see so many relationships like that. Yeah. Mother Bailey said, I be alone a lot, but I have my peace and comfort. That's hey.
Peace is everything.
Yeah, the peace. Yep, the peace is it. Hey, look here. I sit on my couch some days. If I want to look at TV, I look at it. If I want to study, I study. And if you follow me on Facebook, and Monica was asking me today, I got my gym downstairs. When I get through with this here, after I go to Micro Center to get me another monitor, I'm gonna come back and work on the gym. You know, yes.
Forever Blessed made a good comment. She said, you are responsible for your own happiness and ask God to bring you joy. So we look for other people for that. We look to people for that, and that's where we get twisted.
Yeah, well, you use two good words. Happiness and joy. Happiness a lot of times is predicated on what other people do for us, and they make us happy. Joy, I used to use the analogy or the acronym, synonym, whatever they called it, of Jesus and you, Joy. It's something that happens internally. Joy comes from the inside. It's not something that comes from external actions. It comes from a feeling on the inside where you're just at peace and you're at joy. You know, it's nothing but Jesus, the 0/you. Jesus and you is something on the inside. Vicky say peace that passes all understanding, and you come to that point. I have to get back to doing for myself, talking about self-care, talking to my therapist. She was telling me, you know, like, she know I golf, and I used to love to golf all the time. She said, how come you don't golf all the time? She said, that brought you so much joy and so much peace. And so that's why during this birthday month, you see me golfing more. And I found out that I'm more at peace because I'm doing what pleases me and not what pleases other people. And so that's where my self-relationship is coming more into focus. And I make sure that I'm around good people when I play golf, because the things that you like to do, you have to do them with people that you like to do them with. And I went on a golf trip a few months ago, and down in Florida, and it was a guy. He was like a bully, and this was his first time going with us on the trip, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the way he was talking to people. And I just had to check him. And I mean, I checked him and let him know, like, that's unacceptable. You know, and I gave him some choice words and everything. And he hasn't talked to me since. I wished him a happy birthday recently, but he wasn't used to nobody checking him. But those were my boundaries. Right. If you're going to be traveling with our group, we don't treat each other like that. We don't talk to each other like that. And I'm not going to allow you to talk to everybody else like that. And so, boundaries, again, you have to, what do we say? Communicate. We have to communicate them. Yeah. Mother Bailey say, be around, no, she say, do things that bring you joy. Forever blessed, say, be around positive people. Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. And Catherine Hall stands in agreement. Let me throw this scripture out to you. Let me find that. Give me just a minute. It's a real important scripture. Oh, 2 Corinthians 10 and 12. Just write this down. It says, for we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves. In other words, don't be so quick to compare your life or where you are with other people that's always bragging about what they got.
Repeat, please.
Huh?
Repeat that, please.
It says, you mean in my own words? Don't compare yourself with other people that's always bragging about what they have. You know how it's people talking about, like, I got this going on, I got this, I bought this and I bought that, and then we go home like, and we looking at our chairs that the leg falling apart. Now we feeling bad and stuff, because it goes on to say, it says, but they measure themselves by themselves, and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise. You making all these comparisons and stuff, and you have preachers that do that a lot of times. You have to be like, hey doc, how many people did you have at the church today? You know, how many? Well, look here, your church may not hold as many people as that church is. So how you gonna try to compare yourself with Greater Grace and your church only you in a storefront that only hold 25 people, right? And now you feeling bad because you ain't got a Greater Grace crowd, and that's why it says don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. And for the people that keep doing that, it's not wise. And during this pandemic now, a lot of people that was thinking about having building projects are rethinking it, because now they see that they may not never have a church that's going to have 2,000 people in it, because a lot of people go to church from home right now. Mm-hmm. So don't compare yourself with other people, because you may find yourself, you're going to really find yourself, because look here, you're going to do one or two things. You're going to look at people that have more than you have, and then you're going to feel bad because you haven't got there yet. Or either you're going to try to make yourself feel good by comparing yourself with somebody that ain't got nothing and say, I'm better than them, because I got a little more than them. Get a relationship with yourself where you're all right with yourself. Amen. With what you have. Amen. And what you have. Shoot, I got see, I'm so transparent. Look here, I ain't even gonna talk about that. I got some those that been in my house. I got a couple chairs, the antique chairs, and I've been waiting on a lady to make me some covers for the arms, but she never made me the covers, so I'm gonna ask another lady to make me some covers for the arms. But in the meantime, I got some clear tape on my chairs. Mm-hmm. I let people come in my house. I don't care about them seeing no clear tape on my chairs. They're my chairs. You sit in them, they going to hold you up. They real comfortable. What you think about them, that's on you. It ain't going to make a bit of difference to me. I'm at peace with them. They serve the purpose. And when I find a lady to put some arm covers on the chairs and the couch, I'm gonna be fine with it, And until that, it don't bother me. You in the house all the time, and you see it like, hey,
I never even know.
Right? Hey, look, hey, I don't care. I'm at peace with myself. They're my chairs. I don't care. Look here, I was in another pastor's house. I thought I had a great house when I was on Pontchartrain in Palmer Woods and stuff. Went to this,
And you did.
And I did, right, and I did. And I went to another pastor's house. He invited me out for his birthday, stay on a golf course itself. I mean, a palatial home. palatial home. I wasn't hating on it. I told them how great it was and everything. And I felt like, hey, had that, done that, you know, I'm cool where I'm at. I done downsized and everything. Be in good relationship with yourself, people. Be in good relationship with yourself. Wow, I got so much more that I want to talk about, but our hour is up. Anybody else have any questions before we close out? Mother Bailey say, that's right, Bishop, that's your house. Right. And Mother Bailey, I done been in your house, and one thing that you like to have in your house, you have an array of pictures in your house. You have an array of memories. That's what you want in your house. You know, you make your house the way you want your house to be. Yeah, that's your relationship with yourself. Yeah, that's your relationship. So we're in a happy place and happy space. So God bless each and every one of you. We take time for 2 more questions. If anybody has a couple more questions, I'll seek to answer them. And Simba's still laying down there obediently, so I'm gonna don't give him nothing.
No, he's being good.
Oh, okay. Okay. I say don't give him. Okay.
He's being obedient.
Anybody else? Yeah, he's being obedient. He's been sitting down since I told him to. He know his boundaries. Okay. Yeah, Mother Bailey said capturing memories in those pictures. That's what my dear used to always tell us, making memories. So love yourself. Love yourself. If you love yourself and know who you really are, then you would know what to expect from somebody else when you get into a relationship with somebody else. We're going to continue on with relationships next week. In the meantime, God bless you. God keep you. Heavenly Father, I just ask that our relationship with ourselves become whole the way you ordained for it to be, and that our relationship with you be of the utmost, that we can govern ourselves accordingly to the way that you treat us and the way that you take care of us, that we know how to take care of ourselves and how to take care of one another. So I just ask that blessing upon each and every one that hears this today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.